Two of the Track Stars Touring Cars series from Dragon Trail Seaside. Now we're doing things slightly differently here. As you can see, we have 6 cars on track at the moment, but do not fear, this is not the full extent of the grid for this race. We have a pre-qualifying situation owing to a slight excess of competitors. There are 15 spots on the grid. There are 16 drivers vying for an entry. So we have a 5-minute qualifying session and then a 5-lap race. He who finishes last in the 5-lap race will not get to proceed to the 2 19-lap races in the main event here this evening. As you can see, we have the drivers on track and we'll run you through them in just a few seconds' time. So then the first flying laps of pre-quali coming in now, and here's our first driver to get onto a hot lap, Daz 930T. I'm assuming that's a 930 Turbo, as in, of course, the famous Porsche. Daz making his debut for the expanded CS Racing squad. CB Racing, I should say, my apologies. They are now expanded to 4 cars. The 2 that we saw in the trademark dark shade of blue. Of course, we saw that in the last race at the Oval, the Blue Moon Speedway, but we also now have 2 additional entries for Daz and also Artie Thump. So potentially 4 cars for CB Racing, but of course we've got a little bit of sorting out to do yet. We've also got another pair of teammates in. Anth 2712 is one of them, as we can see here on screen. We also have Top Deck 101 there. We'll talk about him in a little while, but the second 2712 car, that's JB. Now, as you see there, BBM, that is actually a pair of brothers, twin brothers, JB and Anth, who are racing together here. They do karting in real life together, but on this occasion they are racing GT 500 cars here at Dragon Trail. Or will they, of course, both be racing GT 500 cars here at Dragon Trail? They'll both have to survive the 5-lap pre-qualifying race that we are currently setting times for. We briefly saw a little earlier on Artie Thump in the second of the additional CB Racing entries, and it is Artie who goes top by 0.8 of a second on the first flying lap, so I don't think anyone's going to be able to challenge that one on this first set of flyers. A couple of the drivers are going to get 3 flying laps by the looks of it. So this 6-car grid, we remind you, this is pre-qualifying, so it's essentially a precursor to the main race. The main race is 2 19-lap finals later on today, or in just a few moments after the pre-qualifying race, but only 15 cars can take the start. We have an entry of 16, so we have this little precursor to the event itself. Great to see people tuning in. Rebby 711 from THR here. What platform is this on? And as Hide and Seek rightly points out, it is indeed Gran Turismo Sport on the PlayStation 4. Dragon Trail Seaside, one of the most infamously difficult circuits on Gran Turismo Sport, mostly for that chicane we just saw on screen, lovingly nicknamed in some circles as the Death Chicane. 23 seconds left on the clock then. Is everybody going to get a final flying lap? I think that everyone ahead of Viper on track will certainly, or VIPR I should say, it's VIP Racing, should get ahead of the timing clock, but with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, will there be another flying lap? Yes, just scraping through. Everybody's going to get 3 flyers then. It's still Artie Thump with the quickest time of all at this stage. Didn't go any quicker on his second flyer, a 1:29.6 on that last one, relative to the 1:28.9, but it doesn't look like he's going to need much more. He's gone fastest in the first sector by the matter of a few thousandths, however. Anth 27.12 using all the road, all the curb, and a little bit more there in his BBM GTR. Artie, Anth and Daz930T are top 3. Now the objective here is to be in the top 5 at the end of the upcoming 5-lap race. Oh, and there goes JB. JB with an error there on his last flying lap. Just a bit of snap oversteer. He's decided to call that one a day. We'll see whether Top Deck can improve then, now that his closest rival is no more. We'll see if anyone else can improve as well, of course. Daz930T moves up to, or rather stays in second place. Did Artie Thump go quicker there? He did indeed, a 1:28.712 for Artie, putting him on the pre-qualifying race pole. So the pre-qualifying race, 5 laps in length, a flat-out sprint to the finish line for everybody. Viper, I think, improved there, but no, he didn't, in fact, a 1:32.0. JB did not improve, and Top Deck didn't improve either. So that's our order then into the pre-qualifying, and it looks as though Artie Thump is the driver in command for now, but of course, racing and qualifying, two very different principles, and the driver of the 892 Lexus RCF will still have his work cut out. It is an all CB Racing front row then for this 5-lap pre-qualifying, the precursor to the race itself. If you're just tuning in and you're seeing 6 cars on the grid, don't worry about it. We have a full grid of racing for 2 19-lappers in just a few moments. This is pre-qualifying. 6 cars start. Well, only 4 cars start, in fact. We've got Viper, or VIPR I should say, and Top Deck, both not getting off the line. Pit or start line glitch for a pair of drivers there. Now I'm imagining we're going to see a restart called. You'd have to think a restart will be called, yes. That'll be in the hands of It's Racing, who of course is series organizer as well as competitor and reigning champion. Red flag, so yes, they are going to be restarting. So a slight hitch to the event getting underway here. Looks like we've got some support in room for JB8712. One of 2 twin brothers looking to make it into the main event. They both have to finish within the top 5 to get into this main event. And D-Zeitz has now left the track, so we can get CB Racing 4 was the win, says Chris. And morning, Sir Adam of Commentary Shire, says Tom. So we shall be back on circuit for another go at that shortly. So they're going to reform the grid and give that another go, hopefully without a pit glitch for their troubles. And of course... Ah, yes. Okay, so you're the third. They did tell me that they were triplets, so excellent stuff. Nice to have you on board, sir. So we've got seemingly a keen family audience here, in addition to those of you tuning in for a Gran Turismo Sport race. Again, a reminder that this is pre-qualifying. 5 laps of racing action to determine who gets onto the main grids for the 2 super sprint rounds here at Dragon Trail Seaside. The A+ rated driver Artie Thump looking a favourite heading in, of course, based on that qualifying performance. The two CB Racing drivers on the front row. A great sight for that team. Let's see if everyone gets off the line. Thankfully they do on this occasion. So all 6 cars ready to race here. My apologies there. Need the deltas and graphics up for everybody. Artie Thump underway in the lead of the order then. A good start from Anth 2712 by the looks of it. Dives into second place out of the first, or into the first of the several braking zones here at Dragon Trail Seaside. So then it's 3 Nissans and 3 Lexuses, in fact. So we've got even Stevens in terms of the manufacturers. Looks as though Lexus was on top in quali. Let's see what happens in the race. And of course, more importantly, only 5 of these drivers are getting through to the main events, the 2 19-lap races later on today. Anth 2712 in second place, then moving up from third on the grid. Daz 930T in the third spot. JB 2712, the other BBM car, in fourth. Top Deck 101 in the fifth spot. Top Deck, who was meant to join us last time out at the Blue Moon Speedway Oval race, but didn't manage to get into the lobby on time. He'll be looking for a spot of redemption in this one, and currently at the back in the JPS-inspired Lexus RCF is Dezites, one of the 2 drivers who didn't get off the line, and on this occasion didn't get off the line particularly well either. Currently at the back of the order and falling off the pack just a little bit, but there are 4 more laps at the end of this one for things to change. You can see there Top Deck 101 carving his way through the order into P3. JB 2712 on his back in 4th position. Doesn't look to be giving up that position anytime soon. Now, they have to be conscious here of maybe not attacking each other too much, because of course it's all well and good fighting for 3rd and 4th in the pre-qualifier, but if there's any kind of error, one of you may well end up out of the race entirely. And Daz 930T there making quite the lunge at the first chicane, and that's cost JB very dearly indeed. JB with all kinds of problems there. 2/3 of the triplets on track, and the 3rd of them on the virtual pit wall there, probably waving arms. We'll see what kind of discourse that one creates, but Artie Thump with a commanding lead at the moment, 5.2 seconds to the good for CB Racing. Looks like we've got a hidden weapon that we didn't see drawn at dawn in the previous race at Blue Moon Speedway in the form of Artie Thump, A+ rated driver. That means he's one of the very best in the game. Of course, there are S-rated drivers as well, but they are rare beasts indeed. Still, if you're an A+, you're somewhere up towards the top of the game. Anth 2712 in a very good and strong second place for the time being. Unlucky there for JB indeed. We'll see what happens with that situation. Top Deck 101 in the 3rd spot. Looks like it's getting fairly distant out here. Dezites there going wide. That's put Daz 930T on the inside and back into 4th, but they're side by side as we run down the main straight at the end of the 2nd lap onto lap 3 of this pre-qualifier. Again, if you are tuning in, bear in mind this is the precursor to the main event. We have a full grid of cars for the main event, but one driver must go, and at the moment the driver in that hot seat, the hottest of all the seats, is JB 2712. Is he just in being in that position? Most likely not. He looked as though he had pace, but unfortunately they're getting caught up in an incident, but he's already practically on the back of the battle for 4th position, and Dezites there getting a bit loose, getting off the circuit. The 27 car under pressure now from JB, boldly looking to the outside there, having to go a lot slower than the optimum apex speed around that particular corner. Less than 200 k's, of course. That's less than 124 miles an hour for evil British people like me. Looking to the inside there into this tight right-hander, but not making a move. Of course, as I said, does some karting in real life, so therefore has a good idea of racecraft and when a move is and isn't sensible, and displaying that there even in this high pressure situation. There is a break there though for JB into the back of VIPR, but that's not such a bad thing because Daz 930T with an error there going through the chicane, and that might cost Daz dearly. With just over 2 laps to go, he's now got 4.7 seconds to make up on the 5th place car, D Zeitz. Now, as long as everyone else ahead of him doesn't make a mistake, it's going to be very difficult for Daz to move up the order any further. As you can see, the rest of the field very spread out, and it's dominant for Artie Thump. I'm very interested to see where he is on the grid for the main race. If he gets through, of course, it'll take a monumental error for him not to be in the main race, but he still has to pre-qualify like everybody else. He's running in the lead for now in lap 4 of 5 of this pre-qualifier before we move on to qualifying for the 2 19-lap main races with mandatory tyre pit stops during the race. We're only on 1 times fuel wear and tyre wear, so it's not too profound of a drop-off in grip or indeed too much of a drop-off in terms of weight carried in fuel. However, a mandatory pit stop is enforced. There goes Artie again, just clipping the apexes perfectly through the high-speed chicane. Anth 2712 with a 2-second advantage currently over Top Deck. Both of these drivers looking fairly competitive, and we'll see how they fit into the main order as long as they stay out of trouble. JB and VIPR, VIP Racing, De Zeitz that is, of course. And there goes De Zeitz, actually, so another mistake there at the chicane. We foresaw a lot of this coming during the race, and there it is once again. The Lexus this time, the all black and gold Lexus, the victim of it. That puts Daz 930T back onto the grid for the main races, provisionally, of course. They still have another lap to survive, but with 8 seconds between De Zeitz and Daz, it's looking like a big error is going to have to go to someone else in order for De Zeitz to be on the grid for the finales, or rather for the main events here. We'll wait with bated breath, but for now, one last glance at Artie Thump, who's going to a commanding victory here. I think that as well as those in this race, the front runners in the main event, the likes of defending champion It's Racing, will be looking at this driver and thinking that this could be a very, very interesting race come a little while from now. Rounds the death chicane, as it's called, for the final time. And through this last right-hander onto what looks to be a victory, and surely is. Let's look further back and make sure that everyone else is through the chicane. Clearly Top Deck there with an issue. Top Deck was falling down the order, and that is why, having some kind of issue there coming out of the right-hand bend at the bottom end of the hill, but he's still in 5th place by 5.5 seconds, and unless something goes catastrophically wrong, this is the end of the campaign all too soon for VIPR De Zeitz in the black and gold Lexus. Daz there getting onto the grass but not spinning into the wall. That would have been heart in the mouth, but he's going to make the main event, as is Top Deck behind him. Anth 2712 and JB 2712 completing the podium in the pre-qualifying race, and unfortunately VIPR De Zeitz we see across the line for the final time in the race. Prinz von Bayern asking about Ellie. Ellie has not made her entry, unfortunately, so she hasn't been a part of the pre-qualifier. A shame to see, actually. We're talking about a driver, Ellie Taylor 141, who should be a part of the season later on, but didn't lodge an entry in time for Dragon Trail Seaside. But there we go then. That is the grid confirmed. Unfortunately, VIPR De Zeitz will now be asked to move aside, and the rest of today's racing will go on without him. 19 laps run twice over the course of the next couple of hours here on Gran Turismo Sport, but we start with, I believe, a 10-minute qualification session. And incidentally, may as well tell you this now, that the second race of the day will be decided based on the results of the first race. It'll just straight up be the results for the first race that decide the grid for race 2. No reverse grids or anything like that. So then, Dragon Trail 200 time, ladies and gentlemen, the 200-kilometer designation. This, of course, is the second of the fantasy circuits we visit in the calendar this year. Next time out, we are at Bathurst for another sprint-style event on April 26th, same time, same place, and that's just the start of what's going to be a very exciting season. But now then, we look forward to this main event on the Croatian coastline, Dragon Trail Seaside. A very good race indeed from Artie. A good race all round. And there we go, confirmation on the chat from It's Racing. Artie Thump, JB2712, Anth2712, Top Deck 101 and Daz930T are through to the main race itself. VIPR Desites will be kindly asked to vacate premises, unfortunately. But for everybody else, it's a winning occasion within the pre-qualifying. We now move on to qualifying proper, 10 minutes with which everyone will get to complete their lap. There goes VIPR, an unfortunate day for him. He didn't have the best of results last time out. The 27 car wasn't so strong at the Blue Moon Speedway either. Incidentally, if you were watching last time, I would not necessarily expect the form book to be the same here at Dragon Trail Seaside. If you weren't watching last time, of course, our last event was 156 laps of oval track racing at the Blue Moon Speedway. The full oval, not the infield course, 156 laps of running. And as a result, it was quite the unique race on the calendar. Lurox22 took the victory, and sure enough, that is a very good driver. So I'm not saying that those who won or were up front last time won't be again, but I think we're going to get some challenges from places we weren't quite expecting, and that also extends, of course, to the new drivers that we have in the race on this occasion. Certainly, we've had a good opening to the season, as Blue Ukulele rightfully points out on the live stream chat here. Send It Racing Tyson number 2 getting a shout out, the 02 car. That's Sir Tyson, of course. Let's see who we've got out on track laying in practice laps. There's our winner from last time, Lurox22 in the factory-esque liveried Nissan. A very close, nail-biting finish last time at Blue Moon Speedway. Hundredths of a second in it for Lurox22 to take the win. Anth2712, we just saw in action in the pre-quali. It'll be very interesting to see where the two BBM drivers slot in to the field. Partyface in the 4th spot. The DTM Mercedes-inspired livery on the shining metallic GTR. I think that might be a tactic, and especially in this sunset condition, he's going to blind everyone that tries to follow him. Very smart stuff from Partyface. There is the 02 car then, Cartel Equipment Hire, emblazoned across the bonnet of the RCF. And we'll follow Sir Tyson for a flying lap here. Start off, of course, with the right-hand kink flat out easily in pretty much any car, but particularly in these high downforce Group 2s. Through the first chicane, that's one of the black spots when we go racing, of course. Hopefully everyone is considerate and calm. Flat out through another right-hand kink, then straight onto the brakes for the practically 90-degree right-hander. That's the end of Sector 1. Onwards then to the S's. hardly any lift at all there. You go through over 220k if you get it right. Sir Tyson 02 with a good job there through the S's. And this will be one of the most important braking zones on the entire lap. Another tight right-hander. Plenty of overtakes to be made there. We are certain of that. So easy to drift wide out of the corner as well, as we've already seen a few times. And then we have the infamous chicane. Not quite taking it flat, Sir Tyson. I'm sure it is probably possible. I gave it a shot in practice. I was practicing among the drivers and I led the room for about 30 seconds. But I couldn't quite manage it flat. But I'm sure some of these top drivers with plenty of experience in the cars will be able to do that flat. But they won't want to take the risk on each and every lap, of course. A 1:28.662, a very good first flyer there from Sir Tyson 02 in the Lexus. There's Anth running in the third spot, and he's now running in third because of one Lurox 22, whose fastest lap has been submitted. And quite the lap it was, a 1:28.626 from Lurox 22. Of course, this is just practice, so the qualifying session itself will start in just a few moments' time. An ever-increasing number of cars on the circuit looking to get a flying lap in. Oh, a great time there from CB Racing Chris, a 1:28.143. Looking very interesting indeed for CB Racing. The original pair from the previous race, of course, still in their colours, Chris and Contagious, in the same colour schemes as before, and the more white-backed RCFs from CB Racing, with the new pair of drivers, Daz932 and Artie Thump, also on circuit. A quadruple situation, not to be outdone by the 2712 gang, the BBM team. CB Racing have moved up to 4. Let's see what kind of lap this is. He's a few tenths off his best. Of course, this doesn't matter at this stage. This is just practice. A little bit of time for the drivers to get embedded. Looks like we have practically everyone out on circuit now. There's little Blacko in the GTR. Currently on an out lap, so has only just made it out onto circuit. And oh, that's an example of what can go horribly wrong here. Some of the runoff and the curbs are on a slightly different level compared to the rest of the track. And you can so easily just dip a wheel and be sent into a spin, as we saw there. So qualifying will be underway in just a few seconds. All cars to track, ready to go. It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know who you're rooting for in the chat. Some of you have already showed your leanings. Indeed, 2 19-lap races. The second grid is dictated by the order of the first race. 10 minutes of qualifying about to get underway then for the main field. Okay, let's get on board with one of the cars and hopefully get back onto the variable cam. There we go. Contagious 187 leads the field out onto circuit then for 10 minutes of qualifying, and immediately top deck 101 there with a bit of an issue and almost collecting Lurox, who doesn't look terribly happy with that one. A bit of a flash of the lights as if to say, Ahem. Cold tyres, outlap, calm down. A little bit of information on one of the drivers that we weren't aware of for the previous broadcast is Party Face. Now you see here the Union Jack on Party Face. Now you may have just seen a flash as he came past the camera. If not, watch the window. There is an Irish flag on that car, for Party Face is an Irishman, albeit now an Irishman living in Australia. So that's something we weren't aware of previously. So if Party Face is still getting support there from Blue Ukulele, who is of course a Brit himself, but just so you know, he's still on the other side of the world. Contagious 187 then getting ready for his first flyer, the 101 car. Let's see what kind of lap can be registered. To all intents and purposes, yes. I think if you were to call Party Face an Aussie, he would declare that he is very much an Irish man. But for all intents and purposes, yes, all Australian. Except for me. Isn't that weird? Contagious 187 on his first flying lap. Missing the apex a little bit there by the looks of it, but going through the first sector. Let's see, a 30.408 is the split. There's Top Deck 101 recovering from his earlier issue. Just on cold tyres coming out of that first chicane, but seems to have the car on better ground now. Let's see who gets the first flying lap accolades. Contagious 187 with clean track up ahead. Of course, a slipstream is always helpful, but just how helpful is often up to debate and personal preference. Leroux seems to have had a quick lap there, but he got on the dirt just a little bit. Contagious will cross the line now with a 130.2. Not the best of laps. None of the first few drivers able to beat a 130. There goes little Blacko straight to the top of the order with a 128, but it's going through thick and fast. There's N-Spud P666, that car to the top. A 128.045, a very competitive time. Just a 129.5 for It's Racing, Yarman Dalitz, who came second here last season in what was the first round of the series. Second round this year. Can he go one better? Not with that qualifying time. So Artie Thump will see 3/10 off in the first sector. We were wondering where Artie would factor into the main race, and certainly at the moment it is towards the front, but can he go any quicker over the course of the remaining 6 minutes of the session? N-Spud P666, though, with the fastest time so far in the factory colour emblazoned Lexus. Again, not a great lap this time, a few tenths off the pace. But with a lap that good to start off with, you've put yourself on a fairly low limbo bar, and you better limber up your back to try and go any lower. Is anybody going to go any quicker? Let's try and find the first drivers across the line. That's Contagious up to P4. So he's moved ahead of It's Racing on the sheets. Got N-Spud coming into pit lane looking for some fresh tyres to maybe set another blitzing lap. That's an interesting strategy. Regarding that, Tom, I believe not. Just courtesy of the fact that Sir Tyson here is in a Lexus this week, where he was in a Honda last week. But I'm not certain if there's any limit on switching, but for now, at least, yes, there's already been one change of car, one change of heart. Of course, we're also down a car, or down one of the entries from last time. We don't have Evil Speedster with us, the other Speedster racing car. We've only got one Speedster racing entry, and it is indeed Top Deck, who we have on screen. Hesitated there for a second, but I did find the right car. Robbo Sport not had the best of laps so far. Let's see what he can do this time. He was fairly quick last time out. In fact, we do have Evil Speedster. Evil Speedster has joined in. My apologies. So he did tick in late on. But since he was in the top 10, he didn't need to perform in the pre-quali. So he's in the top 10 in the championship after the first round of the season. Indeed, the Honda has often been the bogey car, and we see there that it's racing, of course, now also in the Lexus. The Honda has often been described as something of a bogey car among the community that races Group 2s, and it's seemingly been ditched by all comers. Lurox 22 then. A few hundredths clear of N-Spud at the front of the order, and a 1:27.9 on his last lap. So Lurox to the top of the order with a great lap time. 2 minutes and 42 seconds of the session remain. We also need to keep our eyes on N-Spud. He's on his first flying lap on the new set of tyres, so let's watch what he does on this lap. Goes very wide there, sparks flying, shades of 1990s DTM at the Nordschleife there, as the car dances over the curb and throws up sparks like nobody's business. Almost drifts a little wide there, but keeps it on track, or does he? Kicks up a little grass. You've got to be so careful on the exit of that corner. He's 2/10 down on his best at the moment, so it's not going to be a flying lap of any... Oh, and it's a big error there. So easy to do at the chicane, just catching the orange barriers. He's going to have time to do another lap, but he pulls back in. I think he maybe has decided that he's on the limit of adhesion. In fact, no, he's pulling the car in to do another out lap and get another lap in, and he's just about got time to do it with 1 minute and 50 seconds left to go. It's going to be high risk. Will it be high reward for N-Spud P666666, the driver who seemingly has a intense desire to be at the front of the grid. Now he's got to be careful here not to back off too much. Daz 930T is now ahead of him. Now Daz is some way down the order, so you'd have to suggest that N-Spud would only be held up, unfortunately, by Daz. I don't think that's unfair to say based on their pace in the session so far. Currently just hundredths in the top three, because CB Racing Chris, with his time of 1:28.109, just over a tenth back from Lurox 22 and just 600ths of a second back from N-Spud. So we're into the last minute of the session, but of course they will all be able to finish their flying laps that they are on when the session ticks down to 0. Let's see what Lurox does this time by then. Hasn't had a slipstream by the looks of it, but does look to be on a fairly racy little lap. Just tickles the edge of the curb as he comes across the start-finish line now. His time to beat is a 1:27. He's not anywhere near that. Let's see what N-Spud does then on this last flying lap. Little Blacko has improved his time to a 1:28.2. Remains in 4th place for the time being. We got a car off. It's Artie Thump. Artie Thump's final lap is not going to be an improvement. Artie's spinning and pulling the car over. Lurox, meanwhile, comes past the stricken Lexus. And they're kicking up dust. What's his first sector like? Just a few hundredths off. We'll see how he goes through the second. There is N-Spud. He's got to be careful here of the stricken car of Daz 930T. He's off, and that's going to cost him. That's going to be the end of that lap, surely. 3/10 off already. It's not the biggest of margins to be behind on a lap. Maybe, just maybe, he can do something with it, but it's going to take a monumental effort in the closing stages of this particular lap. Let's see what Spud can do. A across the line, and again he's lost time. Lurox has pulled into pit lane, so he's decided his lap time isn't worth continuing. Let's see what CB Racing Chris does. Now he comes across the line, 126, 127, 128.5 by the looks of it. 128.0 in fact. But not what came up. 128.56. It shows up differently on my screen for some reason, but never mind that. Looks as though the order's going to remain fairly stagnant. Let's see what Sir Tyson can do with his last lap. We see there that N-Spud has pulled out of his final lap. 7th place at the moment for Sir Tyson 02. Can he do any better when he crosses the line this time? 23 seconds left on the clock. A 129.116. Not an improvement, just a few hundredths off the pace. No improvement for It's Racing either, so the teammates from It's Racing sharing a fourth row, I should say. 9th place Party Face, Robbo Sport in 10th, Daz 930T in the P11, Anth 2712 in 12th, the first of the BBM cars. We see the full order now, Top Deck 101 in 13th. We are just about to go racing. You'll forgive me for quickly taking a sip of drink. After a very competitive qualifying session then, we are ready for 19 laps of racing. Take 1, the first race of the day for the series here. And we are underway. Looks as though Lurox has got the best start of anyone from the lead. We've got CB Racing Chris looking to get on between the two of them from the inside. He's trying to thread the needle with a little bit of door handle to door handle. 3 wide into the first corner. How's this one going to shake itself out? Lurox has the inside line, but look at N-Spud all the way around the outside and into the lead. CB Racing Chris falling through the order from the gravel down to 7th, down to 8th even, with It's Racing alongside him. And oh dear, not the best of starts from CB Racing Chris, falling through the order there. Will everybody get through this first section of the circuit cleanly? No one in the gravel in the first chicane, and no one in the gravel at the second braking zone either. That's great to see. Let's go back to the front of the order where N-Spud P666 leads the way right around the outside at turn 1, lap 1. What a great manoeuvre that was. If you are watching, do share this stream around, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is going to be a particularly interesting race here at Dragon Trail Seaside. Lurox 22 running in 2nd place then, the winner last time out and the championship leader currently. A great start indeed from N-Spud P666 there, leaving some paint on the wall, and that's going to cost him a couple of miles an hour. Lurox 22 with the run in the GTR into the lead a little later on the brakes as well, and he drifts wide a bit. A little bit of contact between the two of them. Lurox just avoids the grass. Little Blacko in prime position in 3rd place. N-Spud and Lurox side by side. Are they going to go 3 wide for the second time in as many laps through this section of circuit? Boys, please don't peak too early. Little Blacko up to 2nd place with his run there, and they all slide wide into the gravel just barely for N-Spud, I think. And look at it, it's all shuffling through. Little Blacko now from 3rd to 1st within a few hundred yards in his GTR, and there goes N-Spud wide onto the rough part of the curbing. The top 5 as close as you'd like. Artie Thump in 4th place, the leading of the CB Racing cars. Contagious 187 in the 5th spot. The red GTR leading the way then. Great stuff indeed from Little Blacko, our current race leader. Contagious 187 at the back of the lead pack for now. CB Racing Chris recovering in 6th place from Sir Tyson and It's Racing, debuting in the Lexuses after running Hondas last time out. Robbo Sport in 9th. Party Face there in 10th place, the Irish expat in Australia now, but with a British flag along the side of his car. 11th place, Daz 930T, Evil Speedster in 12th place in a good little battle further back. Let's go back to the lead, and it is Little Blacko still holding the lead from Lurox 22. The 22 car appropriately in the hands of Lurox 22, the number 14, followed by the number 22, the number 0 of Spud P666. I I get the feeling Lurox is just waiting to pounce, says one of our commenters, and indeed, it does look a bit lurky at the moment. Little Blacko there getting very, very loose on the dirt as they run towards the end of the first sector for the third of 19 laps. A reminder that there are mandatory pit stops here in this race over the duration of the 19 laps. N-Spud, Artie Thump and Contagious are top 5. Looks as though Contagious is falling off the back a little bit, and indeed he's now in the clutches of CB Racing Chris, kicking up the dirt there with a little bit of a dirty right rear wheel by the looks of it. Will maybe now yield to CB Racing Chris. We often saw CB Racing Chris pushing from the very front of the order in the earlier races at the Blue Moon Speedway, but of course oval racing bringing its own techniques and strategies into play. We've got two teams in line astern formation, the two original CB Racing cars running 5th and 6th there and getting very close to the barriers. Then in 7th and 8th, of course, it's Sir Tyson and it's racing. So lots of team formation in play here. Little Blacko still leading the way. Another lap led for the driver in the number 14 GTR. A 1:28.599, fastest lap of the race for all of maybe 3 seconds. Some interesting comments going on there in the stream, but it is... look at that, further back in the field. In fact, Artie Thump making his way past N-Spud P666, so Artie Thump now into P3, and we see there in shot 3 of the CB Racing cars, and it is the white and blue, the new entry of Artie Thump, that leads the way in the CB Racing ranks for now. It is now past N-Spud. 4 Lexuses battling for 3rd through 6th position at the moment as 2 GTRs jostle at the head of the order. Sparks are flying once again. Great looking battle here. Can N-Spud find a way to retaliate over the next few corners? A run through the chicane is going to be critical as ever. Let's move through to the front two and make sure that nothing happens between them as they run through the chicane. Just glancing the barriers there, and oh, I thought Blacko was running wide there, but in fact it was Lurox who ran wide eventually. Just glancing the outside barrier and losing time. That's going to give Blacko just a little bit of margin for error over the next several laps. Artie Thump in 3rd place from N-Spud, who's now under pressure from CB Racing Chris, so it looks as though Contagious either made an error or yielded into 6th position now. It's Racing and Sir Tyson running 7th and 8th. The quality of the field is really displayed by the fact that It's Racing is running a fairly distant 7th at the moment. He came 2nd last time out last year here at Dragon Trail in the Touring Car Series. And he is a very competent, a very quick racer, a real-life dirt track racer at that. But at the moment, 7th place. But of course, he is adapting to that Lexus. See if anything's happening further up the order. Artie, N-Spud, CB Racing Chris and Contagious running pretty close to each other, but it is that battle for 4th that's the closest at the moment. CB Racing Chris, who tried to thread the needle into the first turn and led the race for maybe 15 yards before ending up in the gravel. Let's see if he can find his way past the 666, the N-Spud P666 Lexus. Purple sectors at the moment, so he's the pace setter on track, CB Racing Chris. All through the chicane in one piece. Of course, we saw N-Spud's last attempts at a flying lap fall by the wayside at the chicane. Lurox seems to be falling into the hands of Artie Thump as well. Mandatory pit stops, as I was saying a couple of laps ago, so there will indeed be pit stops for everybody. Mandatory tyre changes in the 19-lap races. Lurox and Artie Thump running 2nd, 3rd. There's N-Spud. They've all closed up again, so Lurox seemingly the cork in the bottle at the moment. We were speculating previously that Little Blacko in the lead was maybe being just kind of waited on by Lurox 22. However, Lurox has since fallen off the back of the order, and we now have 2nd through 5th place all running in unison at the moment, effectively. The Nissan leading the 3 Lexuses, and Contagious falling off the back a bit in 6th place. It looks as though we've lost Sir Tyson. He's now down in 11th spot. Not sure what happened to him, but you'd have to speculate that if it was anything, it was that pesky final chicane. Evil Speedster, a distant 15th position at the moment as well. Blacko at the front of the order by 2.5 seconds. No such luxuries for Lurox 22, however. All through the chicane in one piece by the looks of it indeed. And in fact, CB Racing Chris now up to 4th place. So N-Spud's been demoted another spot. Looks like CB Racing Chris is on something of a mission here, but the pace setter out on track is our leader in the clean air. Little Blacko in the GTR with the fastest lap of the race thus far, a 1:28.026. But look at these 1:28.1s coming in rather metronomically at the moment for CB Racing Chris. If he can get through Artie Thump and Lurox, it'll be interesting to see what his pure pace is in clean air. Lurox and Artie there getting a bit tripped up on each other, and that's given CB Racing Chris and N-Spud opportunity. N-Spud there to the inside. They run side by side through the kink, and it is Spud back through into 4th position. So Spud up to 4th once again. All of CB Racing Chris's work has been undone in quick fashion, and that's the concertina effect you hear so much about in motorsport. The 2 cars ahead, Lurox and Artie Thump, going side by side, slowing each other up a bit. CB Racing Chris not able to take the optimal line through the corner, and bam, Spud into the next turn, makes the move and takes the position back. So it is this battle for 2nd through 5th place that is currently the most prolific out there, certainly. At the moment, Little Blacko is running away with it. He's going to be considering not if, but when he makes his pit stop, of course, to make the mandatory change of tyres. Spud and CB Racing have had it hammer and tongs so far. Let's see what Artie Thump can do for a run in 3rd place. He's once again within slipstream range of Lurox 22 here. They look to be holding each other up a bit. Contagious has gone into the pits, so Contagious is our first pit stopper in the race. He's clearly seen a gap that he wants to take advantage of, and has come back out in 7th spot, but will fall back down as he gets up to speed. No move among this battle for 2nd through 5th place on this occasion at the first chicane. Spud there running a little deep into the corner. Will that grant CB Racing an opportunity? I don't think it's quite enough of a run, but look at that purple sector. CB Racing Chris again with the pace here in the CB Racing RCF. Looks to the inside, to the outside, any which way he can. Bounces on the curbs, even onto the gravel just a smidgen. We saw gravel and sparks flying. Quite the spectacular sight from the back of the RCF GT3. Group 2, I should say. Bouncing over the curbs at the chicane. Lap 8 of 19. Is about to be in the books, and it is Little Blacko at the head of the order in the 14 car. It's a very promising performance so far from this driver. Running on behalf of Apex Racing, and currently doing so in a very authoritarian position. N-Spud is into pit lane and out of pit lane, retains 5th spot, but will have It's Racing on his back bumper. So N-Spud makes the decision to pit, and It's Racing there diving to the inside. That's going to cost N-Spud time. He's on fresher tyres, of course, but he is going to have to now find his way past It's Racing. Now, I don't think It's Racing is going to make it particularly difficult for him, but that said, it's not the plainest of sailing at the moment, and in fact, It's Racing stays ahead. So the N-Spud there running just a bit wide as he came through the middle section of the S's. Been a bit shaken up by the fact that he didn't quite get out ahead of his fellow Australian driver It's Racing. adapting from Honda to Lexus for this second round of the championship. Let's see if Little Blacko makes a move into pit lane. Looks like he might be. He is indeed. Into pit lane he comes. So this means that for now, Artie Thump leads the way. And he's got past Lurox 22 off camera. So Artie Thump continuing his performance that's very promising for a debutant, certainly, and currently leads the way. Admittedly, it's not a proper race lead. The Prue leader, Little Blacko, back out on circuit now in the 4th spot. Here are our top two then. Lurox 22, the current championship leader, looking fairly feisty, fairly racy, wanting to get past Artie Thump. You can see them there getting right to the limit of the track surface there, riding the white line, and we can see plenty have already taken the grass. We've lost Evil Speedster 85. Whether that was a rage quit or whether that was a internet issue, I'm not certain. You can see there they don't even have to ride the curbs to throw up sparks. These cars are so low slung that even the decompression under braking sees them throwing up a little bit of spark. Artie Thump and Lurox there very close to comfort as they run through the chicane now on this 10th lap of the race. Will either of them make the decision to pit on this occasion? And indeed, Lurox 22 peels in, as does CB Racing Chris. Let's see where they come back out onto the circuit. The CB Racing crew then going to change the tyres on the RCF. Lurox back out onto the circuit. Where is he relative to N-Spud? He's back out ahead of N-Spud. CB Racing Chris also back out ahead of N-Spud. So the fact that N-Spud 666 came out ahead or just behind this man, It's Racing, seems to have cost him. Was not able to put the outlap that he wanted in the books and has ended up once again behind Lurox and CB Racing Chris. But CB Racing there on the cold tyres, not quite as confident through the right-hander. And I think Spud was half looking at a move there. Plenty of guesses and predictions going on in the chat then. Lurox 22, our winner last time out, one of the hot favourites. We'll see what he can do in the closing stages of this race. Of course, Artie Thump, one of few drivers now who hasn't come into the pits. Will he do so on this time? Our race leader at the moment, still setting good lap times, yes, but will have to inevitably pit at some point, courtesy of the mandatory stop and tyre change rule. Is it this time? It is not. Looks like we're going for as much time out at the front of the order as possible for the white and blue car. Little Blacko in second place, but effectively in the lead of the race at the moment from Lurox 22. Now, Lurox's times relative to Blacko's are going to be all important here, and on my screen at least a 1:28.3 last time for Little Blacko, only a 1:30.9 for Lurox, but of course Lurox is fairly fresh out on the circuit, so this is the true first flyer for Lurox 22. Some wagers going on in the chat then. Very interesting to see who you're siding with. It's Racing in 5th spot. Also yet to make a pit stop. And N-Spud, I didn't spot that, my apologies. Spud has fallen down the order again into 6th place. So Spud, a 1:39 last time through. I'm going to wager, while we are wagering things, that was a issue at the chicane. Daz 930T with a strong, consistent run into 7th place at the moment. Party Face running 8th from Contagious, who's fallen down the order somewhat. We saw Contagious into the pits early, of course, but now running 9th and some way off. Sir Tyson in 10th from Top Deck. Anth 2712 in the leading of the two BBM GTRs. JB in P13 at the moment from Robosport in 14th and last for now. A little bit of a wide moment there for JB, in fact, on camera there, just hitting the barriers but not losing too much time or gaining any damage for his troubles, because the damage is indeed off. Robbo may be picking up a bit of pace at the moment. We've got someone with yellow flags out. That's Top Deck, who's had an issue further back in the pack. It all looks very dramatic here at the tail end of the order, and we'll see how that one unfolds, at least at the end of the race, if not sooner. RC Thump still leading the way, has not pitted in just yet. Blacko in the second spot from Lurox, and Lurox setting the fastest lap of the race, a 1:27.756 on the first flying lap in the second stint of the race. The GTR now lighter on fuel. A third of a tank has been burnt in the first phase of this race, and now we see the car's true potential unleashed by the Australian driver, the championship leader, a position that he'll surely be able to extend upon if he finishes where he's set to finish at this moment in time. RT Thump in the 892 car then. Still staying out on circuit. Hopefully is aware of the fact that he has to dip into pit lane at some point. Little Blacko in P2 from Lurox in the third spot. CB Racing Chris in fourth. Spud P666 in fifth. It's Racing in sixth. Daz 930T in 7th, and Sir Tyson in 8th. That's our top 8 for the time being, and it's Artie Thump leading the way on a technicality at the moment. He needs to serve his pit stop. Yes, indeed, it is an interesting strategy for Artie, as mentioned in the chat. 14 laps of 19 in the books, and will he pull in on this occasion? The gap between Blacko and Lurox has gone up slightly. Lurox was a little slower than Blacko on that last lap. 3.1 seconds at the moment, but it's only going up. I think Lurox had a bad run out of the last braking zone as well. And there is Artie Thump. Artie Thump into pit lane then. So let's see where he factors in. Back out onto the circuit in third place. So going to come out ahead of CB Racing Chris in P3. As we can see there, it's less than 10 seconds of time lost in the pit lane. And we'll see now where Artie Thump can get to in these last few laps. There isn't much tyre wear to speak of course, but Lurox 22 will have slightly less fresh tyres compared to Artie Thump. And look at the gap, it's gone up again to 3.5 seconds. Little Blacko ever extending that advantage at the head of the order. It's been a great performance so far from the driver of the 14 car. It looks as though things are firmly in control at the moment. Running through the chicane at the better part of 230 k's, about 145 mile an hour. The supreme downforce of these Group 2 cars, the Super GT GT500 class. Of course, it is only the 2016 variants of the cars eligible for the Trackstars Touring Cars series. Some of the older cars in Gran Turismo Sport, such as the Honda NSX, the Lexus SC430, and the older Nissan GTR, the 2008 car, are not available to pick in the series. Lurox 22 in second place, and in fact going slightly quicker on this lap, has reeled in a couple more tenths, but I think he's going to be driving through the mirrors. Artie Thump there kicking up a bit of gravel, but Artie will be pressuring Lurox. Surely he's going to be feeling that pressure. CB Racing Chris in the second of the CB Racing cars in the classic dark blue and black livery, as opposed to the white and blue of Artie, running in fourth. And there's the recovering N-Spud 666 in fifth from It's Racing. Sir Tyson, the other It's Racing car, running some 12 seconds off his teammate in 7th from Party Face with a very strong 8th place at the moment. Looks like it's been a consistent race, but all getting on the grass there. As I say that, curse the cameras and the commentators, I'd suggest. Through the chicane for another lap goes our race leader then. A 3.2 second advantage over Lurox. Artie Thump. What kind of laps is Artie putting in? We'll see what he does this time across the line. Should have all race info up. For some reason the lap times aren't currently showing up. But we'll see what lap he puts in. It's a very low 28, a 28.1, so that is a good lap time indeed. And look, you can see they're visually closer now, within a second of Lurox 22 yet again. Lurox is closing in on Blacko slowly but surely, but with just under 3 laps left to go, it's going to take more than just pace to defeat little Blacko at this stage, I think. And oh, nearly off into the gravel there goes Lurox 22. A wheel flirting with the edge of the gravel trap. Purple sector in sector 1 on the grass, going through the S's there for just a second. Question here really is, where is Lurox going to finish? Will he maintain the second place, or will Artie Thump be able to challenge from P3? Artie's fallen off the back of it a little bit there. Purple sector's coming in from little Blacko, who's peeled some tenths off the gap on this lap to himself and the leader, but I think it's too little too late. It's down to nearly 2.5 seconds. Maybe he'll be close by the end of the race, but he's not going to be within striking distance unless Blacko starts to feel the pressure, of course, and you can't rule that out. The top 4 are all in the same camera shot then, as they power down the main straight for the second last lap that now begins. 2.7 seconds. It's gone up again slightly. It's ever fluctuating. Artie Thump has lost time there and is now under pressure. It's CB Racing Civil War, ladies and gentlemen. Artie Thump and CB Racing Chris running 3rd and 4th. Look at the speed of these cars. You can see it there visually. They hit the better part of 260k's there as they head towards the S's. And now, will Artie Thump make this easy, or will he be a challenger? Looks as though he's firmly staying to the outside. I think maybe yielding the podium position to Chris. Indeed, looked fairly easy, not orchestrated. Not quite that much of an allegation I'm making, but it certainly looked like it wasn't being overtly challenged. But Artie's still looking pretty racy there, scraping some of the paint off the side of the RCF. And as we enter the penultimate lap, it does look as though this driver, Little Blacko, is at the head of the order. Let's look at what's going on a bit further back. Lurox, CB Racing Chris, Artie Thump, N-Spud, It's Racing, Sir Tyson and Party Face, the top 8 who we've seen little bits and pieces of. Contagious 187 with a poor race in 9th place. He's fallen through the order and just seemingly not had the consistency on his side in this one. Then his CB Racing counterpart, Daz 930T, in 10th from the leading of the BBM cars. Anth 2712 in 11th place, but maybe, just maybe, on the fringes of a top 10. Look at the consistency from Anth there. 130s all the way through, mid 130s each and every lap, but now a 129.7 from Anth 2712, and maybe a top 10 finish at the end of all of this. We're not going to be able to stay on this car for the finish, of course, but hopefully we'll see whether or not this car gets by, whether there is a move in the last lap for the last of the top 10 spots. JB 2712 in the 12th spot from RoboSports and Top Deck last on the circuit at the moment. But meanwhile, coming around the final chicane for the final time is Little Blacko, our race leader. gets through cleanly. That'll be a sigh of relief. And look at the gap. It's within 2 seconds for the first time in a long time. Lurox looked like he had the more of the pure pace, but the consistency across the race was in favour of the 14 car, and it is Little Blacko, the Apex Racing GTR, taking the win in the first of 2 19-lappers here at Dragon Trail. Lurox crossing line within 2 seconds of him. CB Racing Chris rounding out the podium. And, of course, the first of the Lexuses across the line ahead of Artie Thump. N-Spud P666 will come across the line in 5th after a couple of mistakes during the race. And 5th spot is his reward, a top 5 finish. He should be fairly happy with that one. It's Racing will cross the line in 6th spot. A fairly lonely race for him, as well as Sir Tyson 02 in the other It's Racing car. The first run out for the Lexuses from It's Racing after running Hondas last time out at Blue Moon. Party Face crossing line in 8th. 9th place with Contagious, and it looks as though Daz 930T is going to hold on to 10th place. He runs very deep into the final corner, but I don't think Anth 2712 has the response. He's got a good run out of the final turn. He's got the slipstream, but it's not quite enough. Daz 930T takes it and takes the 10th spot from Anth 2712 in 11th. JB 2712 crossing the line in 12th spot appropriately. RoboSport 17 will cross the line for 13th, just ahead of Top Deck. Rounding out our order, all 14 cars see the line and see the checkered flag waved at the line. A fastest lap for last place driver there, Top Deck, on his final lap. And that was the full order then. And what a victory for this man, Little Blacko. Ford attire and a Nissan, but never mind the non-matching wardrobe. A great win there for Little Blacko. Lurox will be happy with 2nd place. That will keep him in the lead of the championship. And, of course, 3rd place falling to CB Racing Chris. He'll certainly be establishing himself as a top contender in the championship. Championship standings won't be published until after we're off the air, but we will, of course, bring you the updated championship tables in time for the next race of the season, which is, of course, at the Bathurst Mount Panorama circuit. But we have 19 more laps to contend with here at Dragon Trail Seaside yet. So if you enjoyed that first race, good news, there's more. Looks as though we're asking for a 10-minute break here. Looks as though some of the drivers wanting to mess with the fluidity of the broadcast, but that's okay. Thank you to those of you in the chat. It was certainly a great race to commentate on. I'm going to see if we can get a word with Little Blacko here. I'm going to try and invite him in for an interview between races. You have to excuse the ad hoc typing. I wasn't expecting a break between the two races, hence I didn't have them ready for an interview. Let's see if he is willing. We'll open it up to anyone. Why not? Get to hear from the drivers in this little break if we can. It's not an overtly arduous process. No, we have a Discord server. I'm sure your brothers, in your case, can tell you all about it. Little Blacko denies. Fair enough. I didn't actually see what came up in there. I hope it wasn't anything too frivolous. Looks like everyone's got their game faces on rightfully. Does look as though we've got radio silence among the drivers. It's alright. I don't think back in the day Mark Scaife would have anything good to say between two races either. So, but he's of course a broadcaster now, so maybe another occasion in the commentary booth for a Little Blacko, but not this time. Indeed, I'm sure that is potentially a factor. We do, as you can see here, we can in fact play with the setups a bit. Got some drivers making use of their track time, others, as you said, probably pulling the virtual spanners out and trying their very best to fix things up. I do race myself, just not as well as some of these drivers at the front of the order, but you can see myself racing on many occasions on the channel here on Twitch. You'll see me challenging the FIA series races and other things like that. I also stray away from Gran Turismo Sport and do some of the other games available on PS4 as well. And good news, I've just purchased a capture card, so maybe I can do something else. Just going to let it know, but I do like that idea. Just going to let him know. But I will indeed do an onboard lap. So then, let's fire up then. He only races himself, everyone else beats him. Thank you very much. So let's show you this track then. The 5.2 kilometre Dragon Trail Seaside Circuit. The flat out kink, not something you have to worry about. Brake maybe just after the 100 board when you're flat out and not in traffic through this, the tight first chicane. Maybe you want to be on second gear out of the corner, but you can get squirrely. Easy flat through this kink in the Group 2 car with the big aero. Important to get power down as we run through the S's now, the key point of the second sector, where it's so easy to just peel in too much at either of the curbs there and get the car up in the air. Blacko explaining there he doesn't have a mic, so that's why he's not willing. And that death chicane, as we saw there, it can be pretty treacherous, but you can get it right. Some of those drivers are doing it practically flat, and you saw there the difference with me. I was modulating the throttle, I was being very careful. But nonetheless, that is a lap of Dragon Trail. I'm nowhere near the peak times, of course, but still a very exciting circuit in these Group 2 cars. Let's see where the braking zone is into this first corner. I think it is just at the 100 zone. In fact, It's a little before the 100 zone based on that. But there we go. Certainly a very technical course, no matter what cars you throw at it. A whole different heap of challenges compared to the more production-based Group 3 and Group 4 cars. These things more pure prototypes in disguise. I will peel off the circuit then. But that was good fun. These Group 2 cars are very good fun at this particular venue. And even though that's nowhere near peak pace, certainly, it is an exhilarating little drive in these particular machines. I'm just going to let the guys know that we'll sort interviews for next time. We'll know who's willing and who's not. So a reminder that the second race is on its way very shortly. Yeah, I was surprised. I think because I wasn't really concentrating, I managed to nail the death chicane. That's the thing I'm good at, driving without concentrating. Ask me to concentrate and I'll be terrible. So I think it won't be too long before we go back to racing action here. Sir Tyson sending me a friend request, so that's cool. That means he seems to be a very willing participant for interviews. We have the 3-minute board in pit lane. That means we will be racing once again. Another 19 laps of racing. Another 19 laps of racing coming very soon indeed. Yeah, I heard you something. I heard you say something about the voice in your head the other day, Blue Ukulele. I have never been to the Isle of Man TT. I'm not so keen on the TT format, to be honest, but road racing in general, a very brave form of the sport. I mostly commentate on UK circuits like Snetterton, Brands Hatch, Silverstone, and others you could name. Thruxton is a fairly regular one for me as well. However, of course, with the season on hold, with the current situation, I suddenly have a lot of free time, and hence I am doing Twitch streaming, not just with commentary like this, but also playing some of the games myself, and getting used to the platform. Lots of friend requests rolling in. I think this is a lot of willing drivers for interviews. So maybe afterwards we'll try and invite them all in and try and get some words. I do indeed follow the Intercontinental GT Challenge. Very good little series, and hopefully we do get to see some more of it after the Bathurst 12. They're all coming in with friend requests. They suddenly all like me. Okay, so not long now until racing will kick off again. Thank you for those of you who are being patient and sticking with it. The 3-minute board was out not so long ago. Favourite current GT series? I'd have to say the current favourite is probably the British series. Especially this year, the grid has fallen in favour of GT3 rather than GT4. It's probably the strongest national series going at the moment. Got regular viewer RGJ Archie tuning in. Much like last Sunday afternoon, Archie, we've got something slightly different on today with the Trackstars Touring Car Series. The Australian competitors competing ferociously once again for honours. And the man in the lead of the championship at the moment, Lurox Racing, will be in prime position for better results once again in this second race of the day. It will be an all GTR front row again from Little Blacko and Lurox. And I will just top myself up with fluids so I don't lose my voice halfway through the second encounter. And so, racing time once again. Little Blacko on pole position for this, the second race of the weekend here in the Trackstars Touring Car Series. Race 2 of round 2 at Dragon Trail Seaside. Blacko and Lurox on the front row. Who gets the best start? Looks as though we got some dramas further back, some cars in the grass and the gravel and the dust, but no such issues at the front of the order. Lurox and Blacko slipstreaming, drag racing down to the front, to the first hairpin, or first chicane, I should say. Let's get the words together. Blacko in the lead, or is he? No, Lurox holding on to the inside line through the second part of the chicane and leads in the early going here. Lurox will be looking to go one better. He was second last time. Artie Thump holds on to third place and is pressuring Little Blacko in the early going. CB Racing Chris, he made a fairly good showing in that last race. Certainly showed some good one-lap pace, and he'll be hoping to translate that into a race-long performance this time around. N-Spud will be looking for a consistent run in fifth. He certainly had the pace, but a few errors cost dear in that particular Lexus. It's racing in sixth place under pressure from Contagious, who seems to have had a good start, moving up to P6 in the other of the CB Racing black and blue cars. Sir Tyson running 8th spot from Party Face, Daz 930T, Anth 2712, Robbo 12 in 12th position, Top Deck in 13th from JB, and we've got Evil Speedster back with us in 15th and last at the moment after disconnecting from the previous race. He's got a good run on JB as they head towards the final turn. Looks like 14th is going to go to Evil Speedster, or is it? No, JB covering it off from the outside for the time being. Good battle there in second place. Little Blacko under a lot of pressure from Artie Thump. The 14 car has at least 7 mirrors, or at least Blacko would hope so with the number of cars behind him. Spud on the attack as well from 5th position. Look at the 3 Lexuses jostling further back. Thump, CB Racing, Chris and Spud running to the finest of margins. Look at this, 3rd and 4th position, Artie and CB Racing Chris. Close stuff between the two of them. To answer your question, we'll maybe do some onboards a little later on when it's a bit less close. It's rather an unglamorous sequence of sub-menus to get onto an onboard shot. There's Artie and CB Racing Chris running 3rd and 4th place for now. N-Spud in the 5th spot. Chris with a good run there through the chicane, but I don't think he's going to be able to capitalise on it because he got into the back of Artie Thump, and that's going to leave him liable to an attack from Spud. Spud looks to the outside line and he's in 4th momentarily, gets Nose in front, but the outside line means he has to yield. Blacko all over the back of Lurox at the head of the order. Meanwhile, the inter-manufacturer war between the two Nissan GTRs. And Blacko to the inside as they approach the first chicane. Makes the move stick nicely. Great move from Little Blacko in the 14. The Rip Curl sponsored car. Lurox in second place. Artie Thump in third. CB Racing Chris in the fourth place. And N-Spud P666 running in the fifth spot, but only by a matter of hundredths. CB Racing Chris with a loss of momentum there. Cost him dearly. And he's now in the clutches of N-Spud. It's Racing falling off the back a bit in sixth position. Party Face running well in seventh at the time being. Blacko, Lurox, Thump are top three, running line astern at the moment. And it looks as though Blacko just taking a bit longer to dial into the car. He did have the fastest lap of anyone last time through, but he's towing Lurox and Artie Thump with him. Lap 3 of the race, and there goes Artie into the barriers there. He's going to lose one spot. Is he going to lose two? I don't think he's quite going to lose out to Spud, but that's going to cost him some confidence. You might have seen the drivers there commenting on their own confidence through the chicane during the previous race, and if you make an error like that so early on, you will naturally be a little more cautious throughout. It's a psychological game as much as anything here at the Dragon Trail. And Artie Thump may have just psyched himself out. Spud there will be smelling blood in the fourth spot. Lurox running a bit wide through the second element of the chicane there. CB Racing Chris all over the back of him in P3. One driver that's fallen back through the order is Contagious, down to 10th place behind his compatriot from CB Racing. Daz 930T running in 9th, and Anth has fallen off the back of Daz as well, now down in 11th. But look at these top three. It's as close as you like. And look up the inside there. It's Lurox almost making the move, but I think he got on the curb, and that's going to cost him. CB Racing Chris swoops around the outside, which becomes the inside for the tight right-hander. Second place falls to the Lexus driver, and Artie Thump may capitalise as well. Surely not side by side through the chicane, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, please reconsider. Think of your families. And look at that. Thump actually makes it stick. He cuts the nose off, but there's contact. Contact between them, I think, there. At least on my screen, it looks as though Lurox maybe got a little bit of a push on, but maybe that was just the back of Thump's car being launched into the front of Lurox when he hit the barrier. I think maybe that might have just been an error from Artie Thump on reflection, but Lurox up to third place and Thump down to 7th. It's all changed then. And Artie Thump will be very disappointed. He's making the early pit stop, so he's forcing a change in strategy here. He's going to pit early on and go for some fast laps. He's going to hope that he comes out in a favourable position among the traffic. Re-enters the circuit in 10th position, and he's going to have a lot to do. He is going to be very, very much in a potential joker position, I think is how I would describe it. If he can put quick, consistent laps in from here, then maybe he can be quite the thorn in the side when everyone else makes their stops. But of course, he has already hit that chicane twice at a bad angle, and that will cost him some confidence. Blacko and CB Racing Chris running line astern in first and second at the moment. I was trying to move it onto onboards there, but you can see that it kind of doesn't work, so that's your question answered, unfortunately. CB Racing Chris with a great run to the inside as we head towards the final corner. Looks for the move, makes the move stick, or does he? Blacko's going to hold on to the outside line. He's going to use all the curb he can, and they're running line astern as they head towards the main straight. Once again, a little bit of door rubbing there by the looks of it. 1:28.2, fastest lap of the race so far. Falling to CB Racing Chris. And Chris pressurising the back of Little Blacko. Oh, off onto the gravel there. They're both into the dust and the dirt, and that was a very close moment there between the two of them. Blacko there, I think maybe driving through the mirrors a bit, and CB Racing Chris again getting loose twice in as many right-hand corners there for Chris. I think I hear an issue further back. It's Lurox. Lurox into the gravel. So there's been all kinds of dramas so far on this. The 6th of 19 laps, and Lurox is going to fall all the way down to 8th position. And of course, that now puts him way behind Artie Thump effectively, because Artie's of course pitted. So by the time Lurox pits, he's going to be a ways down the order, and now he's on the dirty tyres as well. Our championship leader, no less, with an error, or at least some kind of issue putting him onto the gravel. The first real chink in the armour of Lurox in this season. And we'll see where this pans out for him. Carnage is definitely the operative word in this race thus far. The two drivers that have avoided it, Little Blacko and CB Racing Chris, will either of them pit this early in the race? I don't think so. Chris still pressurising the back of the red and black Nissan GTR. Will he have the run into the first chicane? I don't think he's close enough. A little earlier on the brakes by the looks of it as well, but he has to be, of course, in the slipstream. Lurox 22 is making the same move as Artie Thump. He's getting his pit stop out of the way now that he's also got his dramas out of the way, hopefully. All of this has promoted N-Spud up to 3rd position then. It's Racing up to 4th place, really just by virtue of being consistent in the number 1 car. Daz 930T, another big benefactor, I should say, up to 5th spot in the number 135. Another of the CB Racing entries. Contagious with a very interesting line through the corner in 7th spot. Artie Thump and Party Face running fairly close together in 8th and 9th. Anth 27-12 in 10th. And there is the recovering Lurox 22 running in P11 for now. We've got a lapped car already. Robosport having issues there. We just saw him briefly on screen pulling aside from 15th. The battle continues between Blacko and CB Racing. You saw the limits of adhesion there. The cars skidding just slightly as they try, as the laws of physics really try and pull them from the apex to the gravel trap. But the grippy tyres say, no sir, we stay on the tarmac in this house. Little Blacko leading the way then, and coping with this pressure exceedingly well. We did see that moment of dirt tracking just a moment ago, but it seems as though that was in isolation. CB Racing Chris looking very aggressive indeed. So it's Blacko from CB Racing Chris, N-Spud P666 running in 3rd spot. Look at the hounding of the back of that car. We're approaching half distance then in this 19-lapper, the second of 2 19-lap encounters in today's proceedings. The second and final race of round 2 of the Trackstars Touring Car Series. Little Blacko and CB Racing Chris running through the corner. Thought Blacko had maybe overcooked it there, but I think that was just the lag that I have. Unfortunately, that's an inherent part of being an English commentator commentating on an Australian esports event. Little Blacko running through the final turn. And looks like it's been another clean lap. Is it another quick lap? A 1:28.174. Indeed it is. Blacko's now got the fastest lap as well, a 1:28.063. CB Racing Chris, meanwhile, in the slipstream, has yet to leave the slipstream. Spud 666, seemingly with a bit of a lonely race at the moment in P3. It's Racing running 4th, of course, and then Daz 930 under a lot of pressure still from Contagious, but not much happening between the two of them. Contagious can't find his way through, and they're both being caught up by the 3rd of the CB cars, of course, that being Artie Thump. Lurox has yet to find his way through on Anth 2712. I think Anth may have had, or rather Lurox may have had another issue there, and indeed a 142 on one of his laps. I don't think that's how that's meant to be. I think Lurox has had some further problems. All 15 cars still running, but none any closer than the top two. Will either of them elect to pit? This is roughly where the regular pit stops came in last time. Little Blacko and CB Racing Chris. Will either of them bite the bullet? No. And CB Racing Chris with a good run there as we head onto the main straight yet again. Lap 10 begins with the two drivers just 2 tenths apart. They're going to be running door handle to door handle for this entire race, I think. Through the chicane they go then. The first of 2 chicanes on the circuit. Certainly the tamer of the two, but still easy to just overshoot it slightly. Again, improvements are going ever quicker. It's almost as if they're daring each other to outdo the other. Blacko there again getting 2 wheels onto the grass. He's got to be careful of that. That does reduce the grip on the tyres that do make contact with the grass. Blacko there going defensive after CB Racing Chris tickled the inside line on the approach to this right-hander. And they are once again bumper to bumper as they run through the chicane, and that's always terrifying for the car in second place because you cannot see your apex. You have to rely on the driver ahead of you. Unfortunately, Little Blacko is a driver you can rely on if you're in CB Racing Chris's position. They're nailing it each and every time, and look at it, it's getting very defensive. I think Blacko not very comfortable in that particular seat. It's getting a little hot. Someone put the gas off, please. Blacko and CB Racing Chris both into pit lane. Now in theory they should come out in the same order because there is no fueling to consider, and indeed they do, and they come out line astern, but they've also got It's Racing to consider. Now will It's stay behind or will he make the lunge? He's going to make the lunge. He's going to try and lead a lap. He's getting involved in the battle, but he's told no, that's not your battle. A little bit of a side door on side door. CB Racing Chris putting him back down to P3. But for now it is a 3-way duel, but I'm not sure It's Racing is going to have the pace, but he's going to be studying and learning from the back of Chris's car. Of course, again, It's Racing in the Lexus for the first time this season after running the Honda in the opening round. And CB Racing Chris clearly got that Lexus very well hooked up. Seems like there's been an issue further back for Sir Tyson 02. That may just about scarper It's Racing a little bit, of course, because he's going to be wondering what's happened to his teammate. N-Spud 666 now under pressure from the recovering Artie Thump. Thump there getting into the side of the wall once again. Of course, Artie has already served his pit stop. And so, I believe, has N-Spud. Indeed, he has. There goes It's Racing into pit lane. Where will he come back out? I think he might be right in the thick of it with Spud. And no, in fact, coming back out in a very comfortable 3rd place. So seemingly, while everyone else has had troubles, It's Racing running consistently. That has paid off. It's Racing into the pits and back out in 3rd position. This will be a good run for the defending champion, who didn't have the best of races, finishing 5th last time out at the Blue Moon Speedway, the 156 lap encounter at Blue Moon. Thank you to the 3rd triplet in the comments. That's a big compliment. Let's see where Sir Tyson is. He's down to 10th place after his issue, just in front of Lurox. I'm not sure what happened to Sir Tyson. He has been into pit lane, and he's had some very slow laps, a 36, a 32. Lurox there getting wide as well. Lurox still down in 11th position. Everyone who finishes does score points, but it's not going to be the points haul that he's going to want from this one, I don't think. CB Racing Chris, meanwhile, was briefly registered in the lead, and they're side by side as they run through. And a 1:27.836 across the line for CB Racing Chris. That's a very good lap time indeed. So we rejoin this battle at the perfect moment. Chris was briefly registered in the lead, but Blacko manages to hold on, get the better run, and keep the lead for now. But this battle for the lead really proving to be the defining thing out there on circuit. Look at them there, the sheer grip of these GT500 cars. Impressive as could be. CB Racing Chris will be looking for the best run he can now out of the right-hander and then onwards to the chicane, of course, bumping over these curbs that invite you to cut them but can punish you if you do them too much or too little. And just grazing the barriers there, that's going to cost him a few car lengths. Little Blacko will breathe a sigh of relief for another couple of corners. Five laps to go here at the Dragon Trail. Little Blacko setting some impressive lap times here. He's in the clear air, but he hasn't got a clear mirror by any stretch of the imagination. CB Racing Chris pushing hard in the second position. And even though he lost a few car lengths courtesy of that mistake at the chicane, it can change in an instant. He runs wide, misses the apex completely on that right-hand bend as well. Maybe just getting a little flustered at the wheel of the Lexus. We'll see how that battle continues to develop. It's Racing running third spot at the moment. Some way off the pack, and Artie Thump is closing in on him by the looks of it. In fact, Artie was slightly slower on that last lap, but 4.7 seconds could still be doable. But Artie has to worry about Spud, of course, behind him in 5th position. Spud seems to have had a slightly more consistent run of it this time. There's Contagious 187. Running 6th place now, and look at that, Anth 2712. That's the highest we've seen a BBM car so far in the race weekend. And we'll see whether that spot can be held onto, but certainly a 7th place finish for Anth 2712 would be very, very good stuff for BBM on their first weekend. Daz 930T in 8th. Party Face in 9th from Lurox, recovering in 10th place, now ahead of Sir Tyson. Now you'd have to suggest that at least a few of the cars ahead of Lurox can be relatively easy pickings, but will the current championship leader run out of time? He's certainly not going to get much further than 7th or 8th position. Teammates running further back, line astern in 13th and 14th. We've had a quitter out of the race, unfortunately. But back to this battle for the lead. And there's little Blacko. Another purple sector. You can see just how close, mere hundredths of a second, up on his fastest split through the second sector, but that's all it takes to just lower that bar a little more. And every time you see that fastest lap counter on your left-hand side tick down a little further, it's a tiny bit of a psychological blow if you're CB Racing Chris. Of course, Chris has the luxury here of not having to worry about what's going on behind him. That can be an edge as Chris goes fastest. So CB Racing Chris, a 1:27.722, fastest lap back in his favour. 4 laps left to run, and he's still pushing exceedingly hard. 14.9 seconds the gap to It's Racing. So as I was saying, CB Racing Chris really doesn't have to worry about what's going on behind him. It's Racing definitely has to worry about Artie Thump, however. Thump, who we saw has race-winning, race-leading potential. Of course, won the qualifying race, the pre-qualifying race earlier on. And has put a good showing in across the two races so far as well, the two main races. There's N-Spud 666. He's got some good pace in him as well, but I think he's just running out of consistency again. Some 130s creeping in. Indeed, Anth up as far as 7th place. As I was saying a few moments ago, that's the furthest we've seen a BBM car so far in today's proceedings. And if he can hold on to that, it will be quite the result. Daz in 8th from Lurox, who's moving up through the order. Party Face has dropped down to 11th position. Lurox pressuring Daz. Things looking close at the head of the order once again. Blacko on the defensive into the first braking zone. CB Racing Chris pressuring ever more. Look at these drivers consistently in the 27s at this point. At 27.5, CB Racing Chris again lowering the bar. What a great battle this is between the two of them. Less than 3 laps left to run, and Little Blacko currently in prime position to get a second victory, but it's only going to take the slightest of errors, the slightest of hiccups, or indeed the slightest moments of brilliance from CB Racing Chris for everything to change. Artie Thump is through into 3rd place, and It's Racing has dropped back as far as 5th. Looks as though something happened there on that lap for him. It's Racing, I think, may have been recovering from a trip to the gravel just a few moments ago. So N-Spud up into 4th, and Artie Thump now on the final podium position. 2 cars on the podium potentially for CB Racing, but will Chris make his car the one at the top step, or at least the car represented on the top step of the podium? We will see in just over 2 laps time. We start the penultimate lap this time as they cross the stripe. Will it be Blacko? Will it be Chris? If it's anyone else, certainly it will be a dramatic last 2 laps, but it looks as though it will be between these two drivers, failing a significant incident. But these two guys seem to be just as clean as they are quick. I notice there are no bets, there are no wagers this time in the chat. It's too close to call. Chris there just getting a wheel on the grass. A little bit of snap oversteer. You can see there that this is now a full-on battle. They're starting to lose time sector by sector, but this is all about track position. And as we go through the penultimate lap, the sparks start to fly. The once pristine lines are becoming ever raggedier as they try to attack and defend respectively. Blacko to the defensive inside line. There is some traffic to contend with potentially before the end of the race as well. The factors in play here are too numerous to count. And it is CB Racing Chris from the back position pressuring. Oh, and there goes Chris. Chris into the barriers. He just overcooked it slightly into the infamous chicane here at Dragon Trail, just as Blue Ukulele put his backing to him in the chat. Oh dear. CB Racing Chris into the barriers on the penultimate lap. Little Blacko will breathe a sigh of relief now, and he just needs to cruise the car across the line. He's got 6.1 seconds in his favour. CB Racing Chris now in a middling 2nd place. Artie Thump in P3 from N-Spud. It's Racing running in the top 5 once again in spite of his issue. Whatever moment he had there on the circuit, he was running in a podium spot. He'll be disappointed not to be anymore, but 5th place for It's at the moment. Contagious 187 in the 6th spot from Anth 2712, who's under pressure here from Lurox. Lurox looks to be dispatching Anth from the 7th spot. I don't think Anth will fight that too hard, or will he? Look at him, he dives up the inside. He even does a little bit of door handle to door handle. He's defending as if his life depends on it. Anth wants to keep hold of that 7th place. Will he do so over this lap? Looks like we've got some cars close together. That's Little Blacko just dispatching some lap traffic. I apologise for having to switch away from that battle for 7th, but it's important that we see this moment for Little Blacko with a well-deserved victory indeed. The Australian driver 2 from 2 here at the Croatian Dragon Trail Circuit, weaving the car once again as he did in race 1, but this time he does so with a much bigger gap in his favour. CB Racing Chris crossing the line in 2nd. Artie Thump will come across in 3rd place from N-Spud in 4th, and It's Racing in 5th. Contagious will come through in 6th. But what's going on in the battle for 7th? Here it is. Lurox on the attack here. Anth on the defensive. He's looking to the... Oh, and look at that around the outside. Anth just too early on the brakes. But they've both gone off the track. They've both gone wide, and one of them spins. It's Anth. Anth spins it. That's really unfortunate stuff. Lurox 22 takes 7th place there. They both ran wide and off the track. Sir Tyson almost pipped him, but takes 8th place. Party Face in 9th. Daz 930T in 10th, and it's real disappointment for the BBM camp. Anth 2712 with an issue on the final lap there, just getting all 4 wheels on the grass and gravel, and all it took was a bit too much power to throw him off the circuit and throw him into a spin. JB 2712 follows his 2/3 of the triplets across the line, and JB coming across the line in 12th behind Anth. He'll be disappointed for his brother, certainly. Top Deck 101 crosses the line, a distant 13th, and Evil Speedster already across the line, a lap back in P14, but it is Little Blacko winning from CB Racing Chris and Thump, our top 3. And while I don't have the championship points in front of me, I think it's safe to say that Little Blacko will be right up there with Lurox as we now head towards the 3rd round of the season. It'll be the same time, the same place for this action once again at Bathurst, but it'll be on this channel once again at the same time, 7:30 Australian, 10:30 AM UK. But what racing that was between the drivers here in the Trackstars Touring Car Series. A victory for the Little Blacko driven GTR. We see the full results here. CB Racing Chris in 2nd from Artie Thump. N-Spud 666 running 4th. It's Racing in the 5th spot from Contagious 187. Lurox, in spite of going off on the grass himself, taking that 7th place. Sir Tyson 02 runs in the 8th spot. Party Face in 9th. Daz 930T rounding out the top 10 from the 27-2s. 2/3 of the triplets. Anth and JB in 11th and 12th. Top Deck 101 in 13th. Evil Speedster 14th. And RoboSport not coming across the line. 15th place for RoboSport 17. King of Seaside. Little Blacko is declared the King of Seaside by Spud 666. I think that's safe to say, certainly. What a performance then from Little Blacko across the races there. We have Chris CB Racing in the comments section saying he didn't have his gearing wrong. Or he didn't have his gearing right, I should say. So certainly there is lots to reflect upon in the debrief, and they will have to set the cars up differently once again in just a few moments' time, or rather in a week's time, at Bathurst for round 3 of the series. It's going to be exciting to see how these Group 2 cars fare on the intense circuit, the mountain, Mount Panorama, of course, Australia's most famous racing venue, and certainly one of the most spectacular circuits on our calendar this season. We look forward to it. Little Blacko with the dominant performance, 2 race wins from 2 here at Dragon Trail Seaside. Again, thank you so much to those of you that have been watching here today. If you haven't already, it would be amazing to have you following me here on Twitch. I do some gaming myself on the channel, as well as doing commentaries like this. And of course, do follow the channel to see the rest of the Trackstars Touring Car Series. Round 3 here, same time, same place, next week. And we very much look forward to bringing you that action. But for now, from myself, Adam Weller, and from all of the competitors here, have a great day, have a great evening wherever you are in the world. We hope you've enjoyed the action. And until next Sunday, we will see you next time.